powerful words. And, I also want to personally thank the police commissioner on that day last week when she texted me early in the morning. After our morning briefing, I started to get dressed and leave Gracie Mansion, and then I said, "Donna, you have COVID. Where are you going?" And it was only after the first hour or so of her constant communication, knowing I was going through anxiety of not being there on the ground, that she kept me updated. And I watched the unfolding of the professionalism that comes with not only the police department, but this city. I saw the videos of the passengers helping their fellow New Yorkers as they left the trains. I saw the notifications of a dangerous truck in our community and the detectives and police officers going to do the grid search to identify that truck, placing us all at ease. I saw the FBI and the ATF and the governor. I saw this complete picture of what makes New York, New York. And I don't know if you're the one, the young man in the back, who sent out that first tweet. And when I read your story, when people state that young people are not engaged and not involved, you turn that question mark into an exclamation point of, "You're damn right, this is your city too." Doesn't matter if you 8 or 80, we are New Yorkers. And poor chief of detectives, you're so darn good that they looked at 30 hours catching the bad guys and criticizing. That is unbelievable. 3 days to take to get the Boston bomber. Case after case after case you solve. No matter what it is, your detectives are doing the good old-fashioned work to get it done. And my brother, Lieber, your teams responded miraculously. Always there. The partnership between the NYPD and MTA is so impressive. You and I have the same mission, combined to that mission. And no matter what all your guys did, people tried to turn that story around. We're joined at the hip. We're going to make sure our system is safe. And I'm proud to serve with you every day as we do it together. And my men and women of the New York City Police Department, the subtext to this story are the names who called in the tips. I bet you if you were to ask them, they're probably first-generation New Yorkers. They're probably the first to really participate in this dream we call the American dream. But they love this city so much that they went after the person that tried to destroy our way of life. And I hear some say, well, he called himself in. Listen, if a rat rolls in his own hole, it's because we closed around him and he had nowhere else to go. He was smart to turn himself in. That is why he turned himself in. Not because he was altruistic. Because of the job we did that gave him no other choice but to turn himself in. We did it right. And don't let naysayers tell you that as a city, we did not respond correctly. We saw the threat, we identified the threat, we arrested the threat, and our city is better because of that. Better because of that. And so those who wore uniforms, the blue uniforms or blue jeans, everyday New Yorkers came together. And today is one of the many acknowledgments that we are making. With our TA employees last week, the civilians and the law enforcement coming together today and saying thank you. Canvassing of areas to see video footage, interviewing witnesses, tracking down the gun, finding the van, identifying when the gun was purchased. All of our partners come together. We need to celebrate who we are. Not allow one person that created that act to believe we're not New Yorkers and the resiliency of our city. But his apprehension is a message to everyone that believes they can carry a gun and carve bullets of hate and destruction through our community. We will find you, we will arrest you, we will prosecute you. This city belongs to us. It belongs to that young man there that's aggravating his mom right now. That's the beauty of this city. The city belongs to you, young man. This is your city. And we're going to make sure you grow up in this city, free for hurt, harm, and danger. That's why we do this every day. That's the promise I'm giving you as your mayor. That's the promise the police commissioner is giving you. That's the promise these men and women up here are giving you. The city belongs to you and your family and the families of New Yorkers. Thank you.
And now the man who will be forever known as the poor chief of detectives, James Essig.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good afternoon, everybody. You know, the NYPD does have some of the greatest detectives in the world. We have seen this time and time again as they have quickly arrested brutal and deranged criminals. But many of these incidents, high profile and non-media stories, we ask for the public's help. That's why we put out videos, the still shots to the media. In many cases, this one in particular, where a vicious and unprovoked attack on strap hangers occurred, the public answered that call. So first and foremost, I want to thank the members of the public for their numerous tips, the people being honored here today. I want to thank Joe Galata, the chief of Brooklyn South Detectives, who spearheaded this investigation with his team. The media for getting out those stills, that video that helped us solve this case. The ATF, the FBI, the Eastern District, the U.S. Marshals, the New York City Police Foundation, Sue Birnbaum, Isaac Rothberg, and can't speak highly enough of the cooperation in this case. It was great. So with that, I'd just like to turn it over to the chairman of the MTA, Jen Oliba.
How do you follow this, Mayor? Wow. I just have a couple of things I want to say. I want to say thank you, first of all, to Mayor Adams, to Police Commissioner Sewell for bringing us together here today. I know I speak for Governor Hochul when I say thank you for all you're doing. All of us at the MTA are incredibly grateful for the partnership, Mayor, that you talked about so movingly. Last week's shooting was a horrific moment for New York, but it showed us the best of our city, as tragedy often does. The mayor spoke about this again so movingly. From people on the platforms helping to triage victims to the MTA's own heroic workers who were honored at City Hall last week, and of course the dogged investigators and the alert tipsters who have helped to bring the suspect to justice. Today we're celebrating that last group, the NYPD, federal law enforcement partners, and the civilians who called in the tips. The transit system, I always say, is New York's most important and iconic public space. It doesn't feel like a church or a synagogue or a mosque, but I say it's sacred space. It's because it's the place we share where we prove every day that people of all varieties and backgrounds can come together, get along, and create something special. We rely on each other underground because this essential ecosystem only works if we have each other's backs. And the shooting last week proved again that we do. Now, I'm not going to disagree that cash incentives are obviously helpful, but we know that our fellow New Yorkers are always using their eyes and ears to help, irrespective of cash incentives, to help each other. Tipsters who help the police are usually anonymous, so it's special to be with you all today, to be able to acknowledge them in person on behalf of Governor Hochul and of all New York City commuters. Thank you. Thank you. And once again, thank you to our NYPD partners who come through for us every day, along with the ATF, the FBI, the marshals, and everybody in law enforcement who worked this case. Keeping the transit system safe is a 24/7 job, and we're going to keep working with Commissioner Sewell, with Chief Wilcox, and the entire team every day. I was out in Brooklyn early this morning to check out some of the joint city and state end-of-line operations at key stations, Flatbush, Brooklyn College, Stillwell. I got a chance to speak to some of the officers and to thank them for what they're doing every day, not just on days of incredible drama and heroism as we're celebrating today, but that kind of dedication that I see and that I speak with officers about starts at the top. So I cannot finish by thanking Mayor Adams for your incredible leadership, for making subway safety one of your top priorities, and to Commissioner Sewell for making it real. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you, brother.
All right, so now we're going to get to the part we're all here for, which is we're going to present some proclamations. So our first goes to Deputy Inspector Ralph Clement, Commanding Officer of the 9th Precinct.
I can't shake hands and talk about it.
And now to the team that effected the arrest, Sergeant James Keating of the 9th Precinct.
Thank you. Thank you. Congratulations.
Sergeant Keating's operator, Detective Specialist Sean Donahue from the 9th Precinct.
Thank you, John. Good job, man. Good job.
30 hours is a long time, especially if you work the whole 30 hours without sleeping. Deputy Chief Joseph Galata, Commanding Officer, Detective Bureau, Brooklyn South.
30 hours, no sleep.
Lieutenant, Commander of Detectives, Sean Collins, Commanding Officer, Brooklyn South Homicide.
Thank you, man. Good job.
Sergeant Jacqueline Catalano, Commanding Officer of the 72nd Precinct Detective Squad.
Okay, thank you. Can't shake hands. Good job. Good luck. Thank you.
Detective Anthony Biondolillo, common spelling, 72nd Precinct Detective Squad.
Good, man. Thank you.
He is the case detective. And we do all of this with our federal partners, and they are accepting for their agencies and their agents. John DeVito, Special Agent in Charge, New York Field Division of the Federal Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms. Now, we would have here, and I should mention, Mike Driscoll from the FBI. Mike has been called to an emergency involving a shooting in Yonkers, so I will accept for the JTTF. And that brings us to Ralph Sozio, United States Marshal for the Southern District of New York.
Rob, what's up, brother? You know, I gotta just do a tap. Next week I'll be able to shake your hand.
Ralph is in charge of the Regional Fugitive Task Force, which was on the hunt for the suspect in this case till he surrendered. Mr. Francisco Puebla.
Francisco. Paso. Thank you, brother.
As you know, Francisco and two other individuals were involved in pointing out the suspect to the officers when they arrived on the scene. Mr. Sheikh Mohammed.
Hey. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you. Thank you so much. Appreciate you. Appreciate you, brother.
And Mr. Zach Tahan.
You rest yourself, man.
And the man who combines social media acumen with camera work and citizenry, Mr. Jack Griffin.
Thank you. Thank you.
So the theme today, obviously, is about partnership, about teamwork, and as the police commissioner said, that we are all in this together as police and citizens. That concludes our ceremony for today. What do we got?
Yeah,
That concludes our ceremony for today. We're going to be doing photographs to the right of the podium with our awardees.
Actually, we're going to fill in both sides, behind the podium and in front. Otherwise, we're not going to fit.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Sorry, if you're taller, you have to stay behind. Shorter towards the front, taller behind.
You two on this side want to stagger me right in the front?
All right, guys, there's a lot of cameras here, so we're all looking at the same camera.
Let the photo go first, like from the hip down.
Let's start with the mom. All right? We're gonna line right here. Looking right here. Good. You guys are looking right here, this area. Right here. Good. Carissa? Guys, put your hands down when you're done. We're looking right up here. We're looking here. Here. All right, we're looking right here. Here. Wow, all my photos talk, you're all happy? Here we go, right here. Looking right here. Full talk, you all good?